Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to be diving into another tier list for the suited cards of Root. Today we are tackling the mouse cards. Last time we did the rabbit cards. And in that video I got a few comments of constructive criticism in the Woodland Warriors Discord, which is linked in the description if you're not in there. Get in there and talk to us about Root. I believe it was Mike T in the Discord who said that he thought it should basically just be a ranking of things that require mouse crafting power, not mouse suited cards in general. Or we were talking about rabbit cards, but same principle, right? So boots, coins, swords, and crossbows, those require bunny and fox crafting power, and so it's not really fair to rank them alongside the mouse cards because they require different crafting power. If we're going to do a tier list, the purpose should be with mouse crafting power, what is the best thing you can craft? And he also said that he thought that the items should be ranked not in their own tier, but rather with all the other ones. I just disagree a little bit because items are such a different craft than a passive improvement, persistent improvement, that's what I'm looking for. Because it's a one-time victory point gain, and the way that you interact with the Vagabond and stuff like that makes it a completely different calculation, and I don't think it would really fit alongside those other cards. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and jump right into it here. I have not done any thinking about how I'm going to rank these beforehand, same way I did the bunny cards, but we can go ahead and put our ambush and our dominance cards here in the not assessed category. Let's go ahead and rank the items. So I still have the other item cards here, and we're going to go ahead and throw those in not assessed as well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Doesn't seem like very many. When I download these images, I just save them into a folder for each suit, and so there's some fox cards that have mouse crafting in them, so I'm just gonna go ahead and get those in here real quick, and then we can jump right back into this. Alright, so it turns out Stand and Deliver was the only card that I was in fact missing out of these. So then we can go ahead and jump right into this. So first, we are going to take a look at the items. The only items we have to look at are Root Tea and Mouse in a Sack, because we're doing them by suit now. And I think it's pretty clear that Root Tea deserves to go above Mouse in a Sack. Root Tea is worth 2 points, whereas the Mouse in a Sack is worth 1, even though you are giving the Vagabond a lot more when you give them a tea than you are when you give them a bag. I mean, this is just such great value. It's the best value of any item, tied with the hammer. 1 crafting power for 2 points, whereas you can get the sword as 2 crafting power for 2 points. The coins are 2 crafting power for 3 points. There's nothing that's 2 crafting power for 4 points, which would be the only thing that would give the same ratio of 1 crafting power to 2 points that the tea and the hammer have. I know that's not a direct comparison by any means, because it's, for certain factions, it's very easy to get 1 crafting power and very difficult to get 2. But for any faction, having 1 crafting power of 1 suit, being the mouse, is not a very tough ask, and you're getting 2 points, great bang for your buck. And it's not like the hammer where there's only 1 in the supply, so even if someone crafts 1, you'll still have a shot at crafting your own for 2 sweet points. And since we've covered that, I don't think we really need to discuss why the bag is lower. It's just simply less return on your crafting. And since we were just talking about Stand and Deliver, I think it's fair enough that we just go ahead and plop this guy in Rarely Useful. I do remember there being a fairly heated discussion, not heated, I guess, fairly involved discussion in the Discord a while back about the usefulness of Stand and Deliver. And I just don't think this card is all that good. First of all, it costs 3 crafting power. And when you compare it to the other cards that have 3 mouse crafting power, there's only one, and it's Favor of the Mice. Now, Favor of the Mice, I would pretty much always rather have than Stand and Deliver, even if I am playing the cats. And I control the 3 clearings where I have my workshops and there's no enemy pieces there. Even then, I will be hitting that 4th clearing for hopefully a couple points. Stand and Deliver, you take a random card from another player in Birdsong, and that player scores 1 point. Now that's not terrible. This would be a good card if it was cheaper. It would definitely be a good card if it was cheaper. But that is just such a steep cost for such a low return. If you were able to use it throughout the whole game, sure, I guess it could be useful. If you rushed to get 3 mouse crafting power for whatever faction you're playing as, I don't know, maybe you're Alliance and on a map with randomized clearings and there's 3 mouse close to each other, or maybe you're Eyrie and there's 3 mouse close to each other and you clump your roosts up in there. Other than that though, I really don't think it's worth it, because by the time you get 3 mouse crafting power, you don't have that many turns left, most likely, to make use of Stand and Deliver and make back that time that you invested getting that 3 mouse crafting power. And again, since it's 3 mouse crafting power, the only thing you would be making that 3rd mouse crafting power for is Stand and Deliver or Favor of the Mice. So it's not a card you're going to target. It's only useful if, in my opinion, if the setup is perfect off the jump and you can go for it right away, or if you just happen to have 3 mouse crafting power and the card shows up in your hand, then it could be nice, I guess. Other than that, I just don't think it's that useful at all. And then another card that probably... well, this card went in rarely useful in the last video, and I was told about the many use cases that I overlooked for it. So this is going to be Partisans. So we're going to take Mouse Partisans. The Rabbit Partisans in my rabbit video I put in rarely useful. I think now that Partisans are always good. And it was because, for the most part, the main reason was that I neglected to think about the fact that you can use this card multiple times before it comes back to your turn. So what happens when you use Mouse Partisans is, in a battle in a mouse clearing, you can deal 1 extra hit and then discard all the cards in your hand except mice, and that includes birds as well. So the only cards left in your hand are mouse cards after you use this, and you're like, okay, well that's probably not that great, because you know, if you're a faction that wants to have a specific hand setup, then you just lose it. And it's certainly, yes, less useful for those, but the fact that you can engage in multiple battles on your turn, and then in any battle when it's not your turn, also use this card, means that you could discard 2 or 3 cards, maybe 4, or maybe even all 5. Probably wouldn't want to use it in that case, but maybe even all 5, and then get 4 maybe extra hits before it comes back to your turn, maybe more if it's a particularly battle happy turn and you just happen to be in the thick of it. So I have changed my mind about this card. It is limited to mouse clearings, but if you have the setup where this card can be used, I definitely see the value in crafting this card now, especially since it's 1 crafting cost and you can just craft it and have it sit there until you need it, and it can come in handy at the right time. Yeah, so Mouse Partisans going in always good. Marine Broker. Whenever another player crafts an item, draw a card. Whenever another player crafts an item, draw a card. Now, this one is interesting. And I think the best way to rank this one is by comparing it to Master Engravers, because Master Engravers is the same crafting cost as Marine Broker. And it has the same trigger. Oh no, sorry, it has the opposite trigger. So Marine Broker is whenever another player crafts an item, you draw a card. Master Engravers is whenever you craft an item, score 1 extra point. Okay, so I forgot that they were actually different in how the cards are triggered, but still, I'm gonna still compare them directly to each other, or at least attempt to. So whenever another player crafts an item, draw a card. This card can be useful on any faction. It would probably be less useful on a faction that crafts heavily, because you wouldn't be gaining the bonus when you yourself are crafting. But overall, I would think that this card would have broader use. However, the reward is not as good. You're getting a card, whereas in Master Engravers, you are directly scoring an extra point for your crafting. Master Engravers is very good on factions that like to craft a lot and have the ability to craft multiple items in a turn and burst points that way. Now, the one thing about Master Engravers is it could put a target on your back, right? You're crafting items, people are seeing you craft multiple items and get extra points for doing so. They might want to come take you out for that, but I don't think necessarily a card being super good and putting a target on your back should detract from the card, right? I think that Master Engravers versus Marine Broker, I feel like these are both relatively useful in different ways because of how they're triggered, but I think they're both situationally useful. And even though Marine Broker has more use cases, I'm going to give the edge to Master Engravers simply because of the reward being a point rather than a card. By the way, I am ordering the tier list from left to right, more useful within the tier to less useful the further to the right you go. Alright, so I haven't identified an S tier card here yet, and honestly looking at them, I'm not sure I'm going to. Codebreakers, I think, is a pretty easy, always good, right? Codebreakers allows you to, once in daylight, look at another player's hand. And this information is pretty much always useful. You can use it every turn for 1 crafting cost. Solid card overall. I don't think I need to go into much detail with that. And then we have Scouting Party, which makes the attacker immune to ambushes. Now, Scouting Party is a situationally useful card, and I don't think it deserves to be in rarely useful with Stand and Deliver. However, crafting and ambushes, which happens more? So what has a better use case, right? It's tricky to say because there are 12 items in the crafting supply, and there are 5 ambushes in the deck, and every battle there's an opportunity for an ambush to be played. It's difficult to say. Scouting Party is certainly useful, but you can play around ambushes without having Scouting Party, right? You can bring enough troops so that you can still get max hits, regardless of whether an ambush is played or not. Now, I know that's not feasible for every faction, but what I'm saying is Scouting Party sort of just lets you breathe a little easier when initiating a battle, whereas Master Engravers and Marine Broker are giving you a direct benefit every time this happens. Every time an item is crafted by you, or every time an item is crafted by another player, you are getting a direct benefit. So I think because of that, I'm going to rank Scouting Party as situationally useful and less useful than the 2 crafting improvements. It feels a little wrong not to rank an S tier here, but I really don't think any of these are on the level of, what were the S tiers from the last video? Charm Offensive, which was a bit controversial, and Coffin Makers, which is pretty much undisputed. Just an amazing card. Yeah, I don't think any cards in here are on that level. I don't think that's the case. Okay, and then we can go ahead and do the favor. I have the same opinion on the favor that I did last time. Rarely useful, more useful than stand and deliver though. Or did I not? I didn't put it in rarely useful. I put it in situationally useful, I think. Hold on, now I need to now I need to know. Yeah, I put it in situationally useful. And that's again because it largely depends on which faction is making use of the card, right? As the cats or the birds, you're probably not getting that much use out of it, whereas as the alliance or the vagabond, you're getting a ton of benefit and scoring a ton of points, really opening up the board for you to take control of the game. So it's pretty self-explanatory, or not self-explanatory, it's pretty straightforward, cut and dry. The divide between a favor is very good for this faction or a favor is not really that useful for this faction, in my opinion. And that moves us on to our last card, being League of Adventurous Mice. I don't know what the general community feel of this card is, but I don't know, just looking at it and just how my group usually plays, I feel like this card is a bit underrated. You can exhaust an item in your crafted items box once in daylight to take a move or initiate a battle. And once items are exhausted in the crafted items box, there's no way for you to refresh them. So you can only do this once per item that you have crafted. So this is more useful for factions that craft items a lot, again, but I think this, this is a toughie. As much as I do think this card is a bit underrated, I think it probably is rarely useful, simply because you can only use it max like 5 times. That's a little crazy. Like crafting 5-6 items is pretty tough to do. It means no one's really contending with you for the crafting pool, and you're just crafting something every turn or every other turn and stacking up those points. So in reality, 2 to 4 times, and for some factions 0 to 1, 0 to 2 times, you're able to either take a move or initiate a battle. And moving and battling is something that every faction can do regardless, except the poor lizards. They need to crusade and spend acolytes in order to do that. It's not a regular action for them. But what am I trying to say here? It's just a way to save an action for moving and battling, which I know that Command Warren and Cobbler do the same thing, and I rank those higher, but that's because you can do those every turn. Here, while it is one cheaper in terms of crafting cost, you're limited by the number of items you can craft, and I think that makes the card rarely useful just based on that fact alone. I'm only directly comparing it because of the effects. Like, I'm not comparing it in terms of obviously ranking it against them because they're not on this tier list. But yeah, that is going to be it for the rankings of the Mousecrafts. Let me know what you guys think. Do you think there's an S tier hidden among these cards? Are my opinions completely off and uninformed like they sort of were last time? Let me know in the comments if you enjoyed the video, if you've enjoyed my previous videos. Consider leaving a like. It helps the channel out a lot and helps push this content out to more people that might want to see it. And thanks so much, and I'll see you guys in the next video.